Hello, people. Welcome to another edition of A Dose of Drew here and Friday Night Nice. Once again, this is the Blade HQ exclusive Kalashnikov from Boker in the Wiener Warrior garb. This started out as an April Fool's joke, and they actually made it, and I am so glad that they did. First things, let's get some direct measurements. 7.5 overall, a little bit larger than average. 3.5 inches from tip to scale, and that's just the tip there. So approximately, I should say 3.25 inches, not 3.5. So a little over 4 inches of handle or grip space. All right, this is the push button out the side automatic. It does hit hard, but we'll leave that innuendo for another time. All right, weight on this sucker, little over 3.5 ounces. So it does have quite a bit to it on that one. No weirdness or worries there, however. All right. And as you can hear the action, it is right up there. Let's do some quick referential measurements. This is the paramilitary 2. As you can see, it is slightly smaller than that with relatively small hand space. There is the Para 3, lightweight in this case, and it has slightly more hand space unless you include, even if you include the choil, it's pretty similar. So yeah, it does have, however, those very distinct finger grooves, which is important to note. And of course, it is just a blur. It's actually very, very close in size to the Kershaw blur, and not just any leak, but a random leak. So there you go. It is somewhat larger than the leak, which is a good thing. You want your Wiener Warrior to be larger than the leak you have to take. Just saying. There's problems otherwise. There is the bug out. Do not bug out about the Wiener Warrior. And the Civivi Elementum. See, it's right in there. It's not a bad size range whatsoever. And next to my We Gnar. You know what? We're going to leave this comparison for its own video. It deserves it. All right. Watch out for the war of the Wieners. The Wiener and the We Gnar. The Wiener Warrior in the war of the We Gnar. Coming video soon. Let's get into design, aesthetics, mechanics. Noteworthy points: intended purpose, cost value ratio, and of course, expectations, requests. First things first, design. This is hilarious. This is great. It is in the same vein as, let me grab it here real quick. I forgot to pull it out ahead of time. It is in the same vein as the Desert Warrior bits they have. So it is tongue-in-cheek. It is absolutely great. One of the very first Desert Warriors was a Kalashnikov, or the Boker Kalashnikov here. The AK-47, whatever you want to call it. So it is in the same vein. And it was actually started as a April Fool's. I got suckered in by it because I'm like, that's hilarious. I would totally do it. And I think the number of people that did get suckered in by it is probably what got them to make it in the first place. All right, D2 steel. It is, and I want to say, you know, it's got the paint on it, but I want to say that that is metal handles. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's aluminum handles. Little over 3 ounces would suggest so. Fairly decent blade stock too on the D2. I'm not gonna lie. They didn't make it anything other than the standard, so just under 1/8 of an inch, about 3 millimeters behind the edge. It has a very, very big gap for the plunge. They still missed the plunge just a hair. And it would actually be nice if they went a little further around the nose, but they didn't. But it does give it, it's actually a useful knife. And just behind, slid off the edge. It's not thin behind the edge. It is about 20 thousandths. I don't know if I'm off. It's probably a little bit closer to 22 thousandths behind the edge. That's right on. Thereabouts. Twisting it a little bit gives you a different reading. So it's thick behind the edge, decent D2. It's totally coated. Good from the factory edge. It's a working knife that will cut and spread. And it has, notice the nice rounded end for easy penetration. And really, yeah, the aesthetics, it looks like a hot dog in a bun. They totally play it up. It's great. The mechanics work fantastic. The design is absolutely tongue-in-cheek and funny, but they made it a very well done working knife, which there's nothing wrong with that. It's actually hilarious that it has the rounded end. And it hits hard. It works great. It's push button to lock and unlock, so it doesn't have to be two hands to get it back in, but it does help. And the corrugated pocket clip is, I don't know a better way to describe it other than that. Gives you good purchase. Sorry, there's something happening outside my door that's unusual. But it does give you good purchase. And open without actually a lot of hot spots. It kind of makes it kind of wobble in between the fingers along with the finger grooves. If the finger grooves match, the pocket clip will as well. And, you know, the noteworthy points on it, it's what it is. This is an April Fool's joke came to life that is hilarious while being a functionally useful knife. And that is absolutely true. It is functional, it is useful. It has all the capabilities of regular Boker Kalashnikov, but with the rounded blade and with all of the fun that this garb brings out. And that's really the thing, because I will say one thing. It's not a package piercer. It really isn't. This little spot right here does not lend itself to package piercing. It is a shrink wrap or saran wrap slicer. It is a cardboard carver. It does actually carve up boxes very well as long as you don't need it to pierce, and it will do the envelope evisceration. It is, however, sorely lacking in the piercing department with that rounded tip. That it does not do very well at all. But that's not its intended purpose. This thing isn't, I mean, it's made to be used, but it's intended to be a gag. It's intended to be a party trick. Yes, you can carry it. Yes, it's actually fairly less dangerous while doing a good at least 75% of all of the normal EDZ. Anything that's piercing, not so much, but slicing, it'll do it. So, I mean, as a gag, as a novelty item that is actually built to be used and isn't just a joke, that is actually fairly well built, it does a really good job. It wasn't super expensive if they still have any, and it was relatively inexpensive. I believe it was in the $60, $70 range. But the value of having such a unique and hilarious, in my opinion, item really just goes out there. It's a unique, one-of-a-kind at a low price point that a lot of people could get into, and it still makes me laugh when I see it. It more so even than the dessert. The Dessert Warrior is kind of cool, and it definitely has its novelty as well, but it's almost... You know, the caricature of it is still quite useful. The caricature of this, while being useful, is just... Oh, it is... The irony and everything, while still being a usable EDC knife, is fantastic. That value is second to none on this particular knife design. Because that's really what it is. It's a hot dog knife. You can spread condiments and then chop up the hot dog. Like, it is hilarious in that sense. And I expected it to be good. It actually exceeded my expectation just a little bit. And that really is important to say. I don't know where there was a couple of other themes. I don't think anything does it quite the same as this. You could go with a burger flipper. But I don't know where you go from here. D2, perfectly great steel for this, especially since you don't need any piercing. It's got a thick, stout edge. This thing's going to actually last as a slicer for a long time. So there's plenty of value there. The cost is relatively low if you can still get it. The only thing about it is that they're limited edition, so you may not be able to find it anymore. And that's really the downside to this. The cost of value on this, the value is what you make of it. For some people, this is just a silly thing that shouldn't even be there. For other people like me, this is hilarious and a one-of-a-kind opportunity to literally own a prop for the rest of my life that makes me giggle. That's a really high value for me. I can pick this out and know that the Wiener Warrior is by my side. It's hot dog. It's just what it is, and it's lovely for that. And that's where I'm going to leave it. I'm actually going to put this, it's not perfect, but because of the high value to me, I'm going to give this a 97. One of the highest so far. The rest of it doesn't deserve it, but the high cost of value is there. Without the novelty, this as a out the side automatic and how it hits, I would actually give it a 90. It hits really hard. You put good blade steel in there. It's got good aluminum scales. It's got incredible action that's smooth. There's no clicky spots. It hits hard every time. The spring tension that's on it is pretty solid for an automatic out the side. It's not a knife that I carry, but it's one that I enjoy every time I look at it. And that's important as well, since you do have to own these things. But yeah, the aesthetics, the hilarity, the irony, everything about the design and aesthetics there. The mechanics is of a solid, well-built knife that Boker has had out there for a while and has had several iterations and has had a long time and lots of chances to get right, and it has. And with that, what more can you say? It's a very well-built knife that they turned into a usable comedy prop, and cheers and kudos for doing so. It is hilarious and fantastic. And I'm actually going to leave it right there. You guys put down in your comments what you want to think. Tell me if you want to see the We Gnar versus the Wiener Warrior for the win. The war of the wieners, the Wiener versus the We Gnar. You guys tell me how you feel about the Wiener Warrior from Blade HQ here, because it cracks me up. If you're a long-time watcher of the channel, you know that I enjoy my dad jokes, among other things, and this is like a dad joke in real life. It is great, and for that, it gets a high score. So there we are. The Wiener Warrior is a winner in the war of the Wiener so far, but we shall see how it takes on its competition at a later date. In the meantime, you guys, enjoy this video. I'm going to pop it right here. It's a short one tonight. This one is the Boker / Blade HQ automatic Wiener Warrior, and it is fantastic. All right, you guys, take this video, watch it twice, comment as much as you like, be mindful of side effects. Remember to like and subscribe. This has been your Dose of Drew. I am said Drew, and you guys have a great rest of your night.